Black girl, bubble, floating out of trouble. They call you shy, always ask why you listen before you speak. Black girl brain filled with bubbles. Eyes skin from brown to gold. You should know that I keep nursing inside my kitchen. I'm not the one you're thinking. I've been thinking my head. I know now how far I really feel. Towards the sun, let the shadows fall behind you. Don't break, just carry on, and the shadows will never find you. Turn your face towards the sun, let the shadows behind you. Just carry on. Lost in the rock and roll, got lost in the promise of a love I never know. Shadows chase me far from home. I remember when my heart was filled with gold. And you know, I've been burned, you need control. Turn your flag. Lost my faith and trust. You and I know gold don't turn to rust. So sweet we can reign like the kings and queens of yesterday. Don't you know? I've been burned, I've been burned, I've been burned. There's no word, there's no word, there's no word. My soul, turn your flag. Shadows behind you. All right, let's get started. Everyone here? All right. All right, give me a thumbs up if you are here with us on a Thursday at 4:35 p.m. Thumbs up. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Son. Thank you, Clarice, Kaylin, Ria. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Nancy. Hi. Hi, Chase. Did anybody go to the screening and hear the filmmaker Q&A? Yes. Ria, do you mind just telling us quickly, summarize what that Q&A was and what the film was? I did not go, so.
Yeah, totally. It was with Zach Ingrasci. He was the filmmaker for 5 Years North. And I watched it today. Actually, it was really good. I was very emotional. It followed this this guy named Luis, who's from Guatemala, and it followed his like journey into crossing the border into the US, into New York. And so throughout the Q&A, he told us his process, or like how he decided to do that documentary, and how like when they were filming it, they weren't even sure where the story was going to go. They just kind of got the footage, chose the subjects they thought had the most complexity and the most depth, and like kind of as they went along, and it was like I think a 10-year process, and they took a year of editing. It all just came together, and I thought it was cool to hear that, because you don't really realize how films can take like a year, but it also can take like 15-20 years. And he was saying how when he first started out, he didn't even know he wanted to be a filmmaker. And I resonated with that a lot, because I didn't know I wanted to be one until like it just all kind of came together, and I was like, okay, yes, this is what I want to do. So it was cool to get that perspective from him.
Awesome. Did anybody else attend? Jackie, did anything he said resonate to anything we've learned in this class?
Yeah, he talked about pre-production a bit, and he talked about how, like Ray was saying, like trying to find the people you want to talk to, and how there was a particular person who was supposed to be like the main figure, but then they, at the end of the day, they didn't open up enough. So it like shifted and stuff like that. So there was a lot of that talk. And I asked a question about protecting the subjects, because they were people from Guatemala, and they were also shooting their family still in Guatemala. So just trying to figure out, you know, what was like the net put under to make sure that everyone was okay. But yeah, so he touched on that, and he talked about all the safety precautions, and that they did, and like name changes and everything that went into that, and waiting until the subjects weren't in the immediate area anyways. So that way it would be safe for like them to be out and about.
And then that's how pre-production gets like sticky, right? Like when you have something that is endangering other people's life as like a subject matter, like your pre-production comes like next level, and you got to really be a badass, right? Like, because if you fuck it up, somebody's life is in danger. So I'm sure like the film probably took 10 years just to understand all the measures that they had to put in place to make sure not just their lives are, you know, safe, the crew and the filmmaker, but also the people that they're participants in the film, they're subjects of the film. So awesome. Anybody else attend? One more person. If you didn't attend, no worries. Okay, well, that's okay. Thank you guys for sharing that. I will definitely check out that film later. So today we're going to talk, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jackie, because we're actually going to talk about directing actors in this, like, one of our final days of a class. We are going to talk about pre-production and especially like getting used to your participants, your subjects, your protagonists, whatever you choose to call them. It really depends on the relationship you have with this person you're going to be putting on camera, or people that you're going to be putting on camera. Sometimes they can be participants of the film. Sometimes they can just be a subject of the film and maybe not even physically in the film. Or they can be, you know, really a protagonist that doesn't want any real participation other than to, you know, be the story for you. And once they're done, they don't want more to do with it. And so we're going to lean into that, talking about interviewing. That also leans into social impact filmmaking as our kind of final big topic for pre-production. So also thank you, Jackie and Ria, for talking about this film, because this is a really key place that social impact filmmaking is really taking strides in, is much more beyond how do we create stories that change the world, but how do we make films in a way that doesn't create harm to the people that are shooting and to the people that are in the film. And so like his discussing how he took care of his subject matters is very much a place of impact filmmaking. And impact filmmaking is, you know, still a baby. It's probably like about 5-6 years out, but they're really starting to institute much more guidelines into the ethics of particularly documentary filmmaking, because so much of that has been very extractive of communities, and a lot of harm has been done in documentaries. Nanook, which is one of the most kind of famous documentaries ever, which was about this First Peoples in, I believe, Alaska. And it was an early film, like early 1930s. And it was really kind of like this intrusion into this, you know, very remote community, very inclusive community that was, you know, up north. And this guy came in with a camera to put his camera on this community and how they lived, and his intrusion really caused a lot of disruption with the community. But also what he came away with was much more of a scientific observation and an othering of a people instead of a story around humanity. It was really like, this is how they do this, this is what they eat. Nanook seems to be very mean to his kids, you know, like, who the fuck are you to have all these judgments on this community? But that was kind of one of the very early kind of ideas of documentary, and that kind of shot us in this kind of very documentary field where scientists or anthropologists kind of became our first documentarians. And luckily we've moved way past that, but we haven't moved far enough. So there's still some of that still in documentary. So we'll talk about that in the last segment. And since we are short in time, I am going to guarantee to give you guys at least 45 minutes today to talk in groups, new groups, around your lookbooks. And please know that on Tuesday, I will expect to see some form of your lookbook. So you'll still go into breakout sections, but I'll come in the breakout section and I'll just ask everybody to present whatever form your lookbook is in. Please do not feel pressure here. Like, I am at a place in my life right now where no one can place any pressure on me. Otherwise, I will explode. So if you just have a couple pages done, all good. I just want to see it, talk about it, and really be helpful to you in this process, because I do believe the lookbook will be helpful in your process as you move forward. And so you only have an hour and a half with me on Tuesday, and then the other hour and a half is going to be Jamie, and you're going to start to go into production and talk about equipment and how to shoot. So let's try and be, you know, useful and, you know, use as much time as we can together. All right, so as you guys saw, I don't know if everybody saw, but today we're going to do a quick review on pre-production, lookbooks, and final project. So I think I kind of did a little bit of this review in here, but as we know, we are all working, hopefully by now, from a shooting script to start to do scene breakdowns to hopefully break down your script. So this is a different kind of, I just want to show you different examples of how you can break it down between your narration, between your visuals and your sound. And everybody should have something like this by now to some form. And since you guys did breakout sessions, that breakout session, please use that stuff. Like, even if it's just a rough draft, you have a place to start. I wanted to just quickly, this is an AD, and I wanted you to listen to how she talks about her job as an AD.
My job has two distinct pieces. There's the prep piece, and then there's the shooting piece. So a typical day in preparation, I'll get a script. I'll have to read the entire script and then break it down. So I'll take every scene and say, interior studio, Anya talks to interviewer. So who's there? It's Anya and the interviewer. There's camera equipment around. There's a makeup artist. They have drinks on the floor. All of those elements I need to pull out of the script and kind of enter into my document so that I can send it out to the crew so they can see, oh, I'm gonna need 2 lights instead of 1. Oh, we need a huge monitor, not a small monitor. Oh, we're gonna need a dog, not a cat, or whatever. So I pull all that information out of the script and make something called a shooting schedule. And the shooting schedule comes out of the schedule I create. So I pull out all of the scenes, and once I've kind of decided what's a part of every scene, is there a stunt, whatever, I look at all of the scenes and I decide, how do we want to shoot this? So I want to do the stunt in the morning and I want to do the interior bedroom at night. So I'll create, and on my show, we shoot for 5 days. On an hour-long show, they shoot for 7 or 8 days. So I make a 5-day schedule that has all of that information kind of parted out. So you don't have to read the script. You can look and say, oh, on Tuesday, we're shooting interior bedroom, and it's going to be at night. And then in the morning, we're shooting the stunt in the bedroom, and at night, we're going into the kitchen. So everyone can kind of see what I've done. And then throughout prep, or throughout that day, once I've kind of created my schedule, we'll have meetings with different departments to talk about, oh, we're in the bedroom, what are they wearing in the bedroom? Oh, we have a green screen, so they can't wear green. So just getting everyone kind of on the same page. And so that's basically one day of prep is creating a schedule and getting that information out to people. The director wants to have a picture of a cat on the wall. The director wants, that kind of stuff. I'll have discussions with the director. So that, it's kind of nebulous, but that's kind of like one day of prep. And then a day of shooting, my second assistant director will take my schedule and create from our days, she'll build out a day. And that's something that everyone gets. It's called a call sheet, and on that call sheet has all the scenes we're shooting for that one day. And so we'll start our day, I'll say I want to have a call time at 7, and that's based on a myriad of factors. And on a shooting day, we come in, I make sure all the actors are there. If the actors are all there and on time and everything's worked out well, everyone will come in at our call time and we'll have a rehearsal. We'll rehearse the scene. And first we rehearse it with just the director and the director of photography and maybe somebody from props. And then once we've rehearsed the scene for that small group, we'll bring in the whole crew so they can see it. And what they do is they drop marks so people can see, oh, this actor went here and then here. And the reason for that is that once the actors step away, we bring in a group called Second Team, which are the stand-ins. And the stand-ins will kind of recreate the scene body-wise so that the lighting people can light them. So then we do that. Once we've lit the scene, hopefully the actors are ready, they come in and they act a certain portion of the scene and we start knocking out a scene. And that usually involves a bunch of different camera setups to complete a scene. And so we'll do that throughout the day. And hopefully we'll finish our schedule on time, which is like my goal, usually I do. And then we go home and do it again in the morning. And usually what happens is I will try and build a schedule so that I don't end with an actor that's working first up the next day, because actors have something in their contract that allows them 12 hours, and we try to keep our call times as early as possible. So if you end at 8 and the actor needs 2 hours in makeup and hair and they're working first up in the morning, that means you can't start again until 9:30 or something like that. So you're always, that's another thing I'm always trying to kind of, manipulate is when are people starting and how to kind of do that.
All right, so somebody tell me what she just said in your own words.
I did last summer, I did a PA job. So that was my first time ever like seeing up close how much like work goes into even shooting just like something episodic, like not even a whole, we were shooting a pilot episode and that was like a week. But basically her job is like, if she misses any elements, then the whole thing is kind of screwed. She's like the glue, so that everybody knows where they're supposed to be, what equipment they need, when they need it, how they're gonna get it, what time they have to be there. So yeah, she's like literally, she's like the mom of the set, honestly, in a way.
Yes, yes. Many people call the AD man or woman the mom on set. It's a term that people use a lot. Actually, go ask mom, she knows. And so there might be an acronym for mom, and that means the AD. What else did she tell us? Anybody else? What'd she tell us about the actors? How long do actors get on set? What's in their contract? And this is not just actors, this is pretty much everyone, but actors have it much more of a guaranteed or consequence if they are on set longer than this time. Actors are on a specific schedule. Yes, thank you very much, Lena. Actors get 12 hours on set. If you're working with kids, kids only get, I think, 6 hours on set. And that includes everything. That includes their makeup, that includes any kind of tech prep, any of that stuff. And once they go over 12 hours, you're fined. So you have to really make in your schedules, like, when are you doing all this tech rehearsal? When are you making sure their lighting is right? When are you making sure their costume is right? Don't do it right the day of, right before, right? Because you're not going to have enough time. You really just want to rehearse and get into the scene. Even in documentary, you want to rehearse, block, know where they're going to sit, make sure the lighting is right. You want to make sure they have a prep on the interview question. You still might want to make it like open and free and allow them to be very like chill when answering the question, but you want to give them a frame of reference of like, these first 3 questions will start off around your history, so that at least they go in there and they're not doing a lot of thinking time on camera. Does that make sense? All right. The other big thing that she said is around her job. What else is her job? It's a big one. It's not about anything like equipment or anything like that. What was the big one? We've talked about this a little bit. The big C. Literally, this is what she does all day long. Communicate. Did you see how many people she has to communicate with on a daily basis? And like constantly just keeping people in the loop and creating a plan to keep people in the loop. Like that's also like her kitchen table that she's around, showing people her plan, making sure that they know it's green screen, making sure they know they can't have green costumes, making sure that the lighting knows what time they can fly in the lights, making sure the lighting knows what time they have to finalize their lighting, right? Like that's all she does all day long, right? And her big job is the buffer between the director. So the director really communicates his eyes or her ideas or their ideas through the script and the lookbook and any other kind of like pieces that they have done. But for the most part, the director is working with the actors and your interviewee and talking to your department heads, and then the department heads talk to their people. So there's very few people that the director is actually interacting with, and a really good AD knows how to buffer that. Lena, actors are on the communicating with multiple people all at the same time sounds like a big responsibility, and lots of, multitasking. Yeah, you are, if you're really great at multitasking, you're a great AD, because you're keeping so many pieces of information in your head at all times. But also, you got to talk everybody's language on set. You got to talk the lighting language, you got to talk the grip lighting language, you got to talk the actor language. You got to basically be able to swing in everybody's circle as a cool kid, and then get them to do what you need them to do during the time you need them to get it done. Does that make sense? And you're not necessarily their boss either, right? You're just kind of the lead set person, the second in kind of command of the AD, but the heads of the department, their boss is the director, right? So that's who they really, so they kind of can usurp you all the time, which happens. There's so much set politics that happen. So you really have to find a way to get them on your side, right? You have to find a way to communicate with them, and you have to know your language, right? So like a part of me teaching you guys all these different things and you're going into this other kind of space of production is so that you know all the places on set, because it's very important to speak the language of everybody, especially if you want to be a director. Like there's no way you can be a director without speaking everybody's language, and that's everybody, including the grip person. Like you need to tell a grip person that you're gonna need a lot of fucking wattage, and they're gonna know what you say when you say that. All right.
I have a question.
Please ask a question. Yes, please.
So what I'm getting from pre-production a lot is like scheduling is your best friend and stuff like that, and like trying to really figure out, because there's so many moving parts and they all need to work along with each other. But my biggest issue that I'm having is like, who do I prioritize? Like, do I talk to location before I talk to like my assistant, before I try to figure out like whose day is available? Like, who do I figure out where to go to first?
Your assistant. And that person should be glued to you. And if they're not glued to you, get another assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're delegating too. Like you should be prioritizing heads, and your assistant should be talking to anybody that's not a head, right? And heads should be talking to their people. Like the camera person talks to all the camera people, and the AD is just kind of the follow-up to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But you are talking to the AD nonstop. They go with you everywhere, everywhere. Like there's not one space where the AD does not know everything, right? They should know every single thing. And that's the first person you hire, to tell you the truth. And hopefully a lot of ADs come with their own crew. They come with their own kind of idea of who's a good post, a good editor. Like they come with a lot of information on the landscape. So you kind of want to hire them first.
Mm-hmm. So like in terms for us right now, because at least for me, I'm working like with a tiny crew of like 3-4 people. So like would I have to figure out when their available times are first before trying to figure out scheduling where to go? Or should it be the other way around? Because like location, if I don't have a location, they kind of need to go. It's like a lot that I'm just like, I don't know who to go to first.
And you don't have any person that's like a assistant?
Yes, I do, but I also need to figure out like around her schedule. So it's a lot of like juggling.
Yeah, so try to juggle less, okay? And you want to put more weight on her and or him or they. So really what you want to say is at least your AD, you want to lock down for a particular time period, right? So have a general idea of what your schedule is going to be. In the month of November, I'm going to be shooting every weekend. Are you good with weekends between 12 to 5 for all of November? And they should give you a yes. If they give you an answer that's like, I'm good, except for at 3 o'clock on this day, I have to go with my grandma somewhere. You'd be like, all right, then you're not the right fit. Like I need somebody to ride or die with me every weekend in November. Now, when you go to the cinematographer and you say, all right, we're going to shoot every weekend in November, but I just need you for 3 hours of shooting a day, right? And then the cinematographer locks that down. And then you go down the list, right? Not everybody you need every day, you know, you should be getting also your editor. I don't know if you're editing it also, but whoever you're getting to edit, you should know, they should know at the end of November, you're going to be done. So when you get that kind of decision, what you're doing is like when you reach out to people, you say, all right, I have weekends between 12 to 5 or 12 to 8, whatever big block. Can you schedule somewhere of 2 hours, 3 hours in there, right? I would probably do like a 4-hour shoot, an hour for you to set up, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours for you to shoot, and like a 30-minute breakdown. And that way you have some wiggle room there, and everybody has already blocked off more time than you asked them to. So that just means that their day is shorter. But remember, they need a little bit of more time just to get there. So it just makes sense to block off as much time as possible. Did that help answer a little bit and prioritize for you?
Yeah, it definitely did. Thank you.
Yeah, and a few people have asked me about how much of their lives that they should sacrifice for film. And I just want to say everything. All your blood, all your sweat, and all your tears, sacrifice it all. And if a motherfucker don't want to ride with you, be like, all right, I'm going on the adventure by myself, because it just don't work. Trust me, I've done it. Anybody who's like half in it, he's just dragging you. You need folks that get it, that are like, yes, I love filmmaking. I'll be here with you. We'll get everything you want. You need those kind of people. So the sooner you learn that, the better. And also you need to learn to delegate, because you need to be in creative space. And so somebody needs to hold the administration, somebody needs to hold the schedule. Once you decide November, I'm shooting every weekend, hand the rest off to the AD, let them schedule it. All right. Anybody else have questions? Do you guys feel confident around scheduling? Like, let me just ask this question. Sadiq, please.
It's a mixed bag, because I think it would be really cool to have some help with the cinematography, but at the same time, I really do want to find like a long-term camera and shoot it myself. And like, I'm worried about if I do work with another cinematographer, like stylistically, like it not meshing well together. And then I also want to edit it too. And for me, all my editing skill has been like mostly self-taught, a couple things that I've learned from class, but I don't know if my skills are high enough to edit it to like the quality that I really want it to be at. So, and then also I have to schedule it myself, and I'm not sure if I will be able to find an AD that can like hold on to it and kind of commit like long term for like a whole month to be able to schedule things and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
it is a huge commitment, and it's hard. I would say, like, you guys try not to set the bar too high for yourselves. Be willing to fail and be willing to experiment. So it might take a little bit of weight off of you, Sadiq, to have someone to do camera with you, right? Since you are doing scheduling and all that kind of stuff. But I would say, like, experiment, collaborate, try, and fail at it. And I guarantee you, you're not going to fail as hard as you think you are going to fail. Like, you're going to be like, all right, it's not exactly what I want, but we made it work. And we actually get to a whole different place. It happens every time. But once you decide, like, it's going to be this high bar kind of thing, and you're going to fail so hard trying to achieve something that's just not in your wheelhouse just yet. But you'll get there. You'll get there. Did you have something, Nancy?
Yeah, adding to what Sadiq said on in terms of like the AD and also the scheduling too. The things that I'm the most concerned about is like, especially with the pandemic too, like, because like with everything kind of shifted like pretty quickly, like how, like, it is important to have a cinematographer and like kind of like have your own crew and everything, but also it's really weird kind of transition because of the COVID-19 pandemic too. Like because you want to follow the 6 feet rule, 6 feet rule for everyone's health's sake. So that is something that I've struggled since I started struggling, because I don't know, because I want to be healthy and safe, but I also want to, so it's kind of like it's like, oh, which one commitment I should go with the most,
Right.
So that's something.
Right. That's a really good point that you're making about COVID. And if I don't, I would really consider that in pre-production if you're really gonna need somebody not to be 6 feet, right? Like if you're really gonna need not your camera or your crew, get tested. Like it's really easy. You can go to a community place and folks can get tested for free and get the results back in a week. You know, like you have plenty of time to do that, like right now. And the other sense of like, when you do your shot list, plan your shots. Like, is there a sense of a shot that needs to have everybody up on top of everybody, right? Like, do you have a zoom lens? Can you zoom in for an extreme close-up or a close-up? Do you have to be on top of your actors? Like that's a huge thing to be considering like right now. And also, you know, have that kind of flexibility. Maybe that AD can be remote. Maybe that AD can help you send out emails and schedule, and they might not be on set, right? Like this is a place where you would reconsider like how many people really need to be there at any given time, because you're not just endangering your lives, you're also endangering your participants' life. So really think about that. I also want to tell everybody here, like as a broke ass filmmaker, which you will be for a while, time is your best friend, right? Like spend more time, right? Give yourself more time to do stuff, put more days in your schedule because you got more time. You don't have money, you don't have a fancy crew, right? You have time, so really rely on the time. Make your day shorter, you know, make sure if you're gonna have less crew on set, then make your days shorter and spend more days in the schedule. Have a 2-week shoot instead of a 1-week shoot. All right, Nathan, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so I'm currently working on my shot list for my narrative thing. Should I create my shot list? Oh, sorry, what did you ask? Which
one did you pick? The friends, the lovers. The friends or the lovers. The friends.
Okay. I couldn't figure out how to do a car rig. But I was creating the shot list and at the same time as my storyboard. And then I was going to kind of figure out scheduling from there. Should I figure out scheduling before? Because I just want to make sure I know what to shoot before I start asking people to come on certain days.
Same advice that I gave. You want to do a big chunk of scheduling, meaning like I'm going to shoot this month. And then send out an early email that says, hey, I want to shoot in November. Who's available to shoot in November? I haven't locked down the schedule yet, but I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around an 8-day shoot, a 5-day shoot, a 3-day shoot, whatever you're thinking, right? And then just kind of get sense of people's availability. That way it just is in their mind. They know it's happening. You kind of get a sense of if people are available or not. And then when you create your storyboard and your shot list, kind of think of your storyboard as a broad stroke of your shot list. So your storyboard shouldn't match shot for shot. It should just say like this scene, the most important part of this scene is a close-up shot where 2 people are in an intimate discussion and how you kind of picture that to happen. And so your shot list would go in to say, we have a medium shot, we have a close-up of hands touching, that's all that. You really just want to get a broad stroke in the storyboard, so you're not doing too much dictating on and just because it's also like time sensitive to like spend a lot of time on your storyboard in that way. So they should just be kind of 1 or 2, maybe 3 kind of storyboards of each scene. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so for the storyboard itself, there are a couple specific kind of shots that I want to get, but it's not necessarily like I might use them. So would I organize that differently within my shot list? Because my question is whether or not I have to draw out every single shot that I have in mind for my storyboard.
Yeah, you don't want to draw out every single shot. You want to draw out the shots that are key shots and shots that might be somewhat complicated in understanding what the character's position is in the shot. And then you have something what is called like a blocking shot list, which is where you take your shot list and you block it out to say like the camera is here, the actors are here, and then it's a moving shot that comes in close up. And so it's the same kind of structure as a storyboard, but instead you're just using X's and little camera I can look up one when we do it, and I'll show you what one looks like, but it's just a blocking storyboard. And it's just X's and arrows that just say camera here, actors here, shot moves, it travels, and we go around here. And then in the next scene, we do this, and it kind of also helps the editor to know how like the shots transition. And it's especially helpful if you have something really complicated, right? Like a scene that happens really in editing, and you want to make sure the camera hits all the right points of the shots. And it's also helpful for actors too, to know where blocking is. And so when you get on set, you would take that like blocking list and you would start to tape it out on set. So actors and camera can do their blocking really quickly, and then you rip up the tape when you shoot the scene.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll see if I can find something. Anybody else with a question? Yeah? All right. It's okay if you guys feel nervous around schedules. It's totally okay. I don't know anytime I go into a movie feeling like I have, I feel good, like it's gonna get done. And I can tell you my feature I did over maybe a couple days during the week. Maybe I tried to do 3 days, and I did it over a year. And then I got into a really bad car accident, and I had to like not shoot for like 3 months. And so like I had 3 months of an 90% done film, and then I had to go back and shoot it, and it was hard. It was really hard, but it was also hard to be on a project for almost like a year and a half. Like I'm editing now, but it's intense. But I would tell you, if you're doing a feature of any length, on average it's about 3 years from script to actually having it distributed in festivals. It's about a 3-year process always. I don't know anybody else. I don't know anybody who's takes shorter than 3 years unless they have a lot of money behind them. But even that, like Last Black Man took 8 years, and people don't realize that. It took 8 years to do that film. I'm Sorry to Bother You took about 10 years to do that film. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Okay, so I want us to watch a quick little experimental film, and then we'll come back, and then we're gonna do an imagination exercise. That's what we're gonna do. I totally forgot what my favorite thing to do today was. So this is especially for you guys who have language a part of your film. This is by an indigenous filmmaker. Oh, sorry. And so I hope you like it. 5 minutes.
Johnny? Mm-hmm. Johnny. Piano solution. Ugug Johnny Yaga Sladwickel Polton, Wigna?
No, Woodka.
P. Ikta Yaga Munkaba. Ikta Johnny Yaga Munkaba.
Ja, jag checkar på när jag säger wow, people work inside some coffee house, kebab.
Tlaxa Chago.
Johnny P. Up to
We naga conducts na witka, Kada, Chago, Chinukwawa, be well, naga mugnim Chinukwawa, uk sitcom Chinuk, Kagwa, Shawa, Stilacham Ankadi, Pluska, Munkuguk. P. Naga mugnim Chinuk jargon, uk Wawa, Kagwa, Boston Tilacham, Pluska Munkuguk. Plus, Pluska Muk Lalong, Uguk. Dennis Kloima.
Then they'd have to admit I can't speak well. I can't speak Chinukwawa well. I say it all. I'm fooling you. You don't know anything. You just blab on. What? Quan Kawa. Pus negasmuk Irish Conway son, Quan negasmuk. Nigga take a bed, but Quan look. Huh. Pus Conway son, she never get up, naga, clean out a little toppy, it's come coffee, tea, knowledge, Luke.
Dennis Colpus, Boston Telecom, Pus Wawa, be, Chin Iga Iskalamaka, Ugu Echt Ulman, Wilson Bob, Niga Wawayaga, Pada Miga, P. Oh, Dret Kagpus Dret Tach Labushaga.
There's not a little bit you know, not even a little bit do you know. That's not even a little bit you don't know. You don't even know a little bit. You don't know very much anyhow. A miserable excuse for an Indian you are. You can't speak Chinnaquawa well. Later, you'll be good. With ITU talking a lot, later on you truly will speak it really well.
We Dreadflush, but
You know, plus with country yaga, Kundux Boston Mon yaga, Mook, Plush Wawa Kagwa, Hada, you know, Conway Boston Telecom yaga, Kundux, let's go, Kada. But, you know, so Ayak yaga, Talks the Boosh, you know, Talks the Ugu Mon, Chi, you know, Week yaga, Dret Boosh Musa, plus Dret Ul yaga. You know, Dret.
Die Damale, ik de Megamunk.
By just blabbering, you'll disappoint me. But say all that you're saying, fine. You go say it. Just talking every which way. You want to talk anyway, but you know if you don't know how to say it, later on you will learn how. Oh, I don't speak well now, but I will speak Chinnaquawa really well.
Taxa ugu man chia, you know, week yaga dret flush musum plus dret ul yaga. You know, dret yaga dollars yaga. Mega tum awaki yaga tum awaki shawar man yaga. We country yaga.
Die hadden ugu kulikli maiga, plaza kilpai kaba, Chicago, die antje, Chicago ik de mamuk.
Just you and me. But with the two of us just going on talking away, later on you will learn. You should say everything that you want to say, even if it's completely wrong. Say it. That's the way you'll learn it. You certainly will know it really well. You'll speak it so very straight, you won't be at all white. You'll be Indian. You know, say a wash. A lot of times the old timers. You don't know nothing. You're a real Indian. You are so ignorant. You know, they say that. Used to say it.
All right. So give me some initial reflections of watching that. Just initially, what comes to mind about watching that film? Anything, whatever struck you. Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
So at my job, I work with like a bunch of people who are monolingual, especially in just Cantonese or Mandarin or Spanish. And when I'm communicating to my Spanish monolingual speaking coworkers, I find that I'm struggling to kind of translate what I'm saying to them. And so when I talk, I have like a very high school level knowledge of Spanish. And so when I try to talk to them in Spanish, I feel like there's like a weird contradiction between the English that I know and the meanings and semantics that are in my head and the way that it roughly translates to Spanish. And I don't know, I feel like there's this weird kind of duality in the way in which that I can't really speak Spanish and these other people can't really speak English, but it's like we're both experiencing the same problem. And I feel like this film just exemplified all of those like miscommunications and feelings.
Yeah, totally. I think he does that really well in this film. Anyone else? Reflections?
I thought about how much time it takes, like just to learn the basic dialect of a language. And even after you like kind of get down the basics, you still can't fully communicate with somebody who speaks fluently. There's still always going to be that like disconnect until you like master it.
Yes, 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 yes. It's a film a lot about language, but it's also about natives, right? Like his main point in this film is like, are you a real native if you don't speak your native tongue? And he is attempting to master the native tongue, but he still isn't there. And then he's in this circle. It's a circle, I don't know if you guys saw, but it's a circle of people who all come together to try and keep this language alive. So they practice with each other, but they still are rudimentary compared to this, you know, elder who really is schooling us on the language and his like experiences with many settlers and settlers coming in to try and speak the language and think they've mastered it. And like, everyone's like, nah, we got you. Like your accent's bad. You can't do the certain, you know, inflections. Like you're not there as a master. So it's a thing about language, but it's also about identity, right? So tell me about pre-production. What's the pre-production of this film? It's a really simple film, but there is pre-production. Call anything out that you noticed. Go ahead, Ria, please.
I feel like there would have been a lot of research on the language itself and who speaks it and where you can find them and if they would be willing to do this video or this project with you.
Yeah, so he is actually a linguist, and he has actually, if you go through his work, I'll give you guys the link. He has a lot of videos around language, and this is a group that he was in before he did the film. But I think it's kind of like a lifelong like interest of him, language, and he also, I guess, masters Latin too. So he's very interested in languages, and not that native languages are even connected to Latin, but that's a person with, you know, a lot of dexterity. My English is terrible half the time, and I've been trying to learn French for like 10 years now, and I can understand it, but do not ask me to speak French because it sounds like an American trying to speak French, just so we're clear. So yeah, so that's really important. He had to find these people. So say he's a part of this club already and he knows the people. What does he have to do then?
I guess the first step would be reaching out to them, like emailing them or like asking for their contact and telling them about the project. And
what is he asking for?
Their time and
their what?
Their knowledge of the language.
Their permission.
Oh yeah, their permission.
Yeah. Right? You need permission to shoot them. You need permission to bring a camera into their space. Even if he's a member of this club, he still has to get their permission, right? He has to, yeah, it's a cool idea, but nah, we don't want, you know, this camera in here. So that's the club. And then he has the dude. I don't know if he knew the dude or not, the elder, but he has to get the permission of the elder, right? What else? Someone else. What other pre-production things do we see here?
I know we were just talking about sound, a lot of sound recording. Probably a lot of ADR too. Just because, yeah, it's that like there's so much, it's very dialogue heavy, this project. So I'm sure they had to like re-record a lot of stuff just in case something kind of messed up. Especially they were using a handheld in the classroom. So the cameras on those are pretty shitty.
Yes. And it looks shitty, right? But it looked shitty, but it also looked like the aesthetics he was consistent. So it's not a shitty film at all, but it definitely was a shitty camera, and he used it well. He used it to his advantage. Sadiq mentioned ADR. What else should we be thinking about? Not just with ADR, but what about the other piece of that? There's the voiceover, and then what else does he do with the voiceover?
Are you referring to like when he like layered them on top of each other? And then
that is really great, but not the sound. Yes, they did layer it, and there was an audio transition, but I'm not speaking to the audio. I'm speaking to the lower thirds that you put in your lower third.
CJ said a translation.
Yes, the translation, but also the subtitles, right? There's lots of titles in this film. So he's subtitling everything that he's ADRing, right? So that's a thing. But he also has a whole layer of text that has nothing to do with the ADR. So that's huge. It needs to be done beforehand to a certain extent, right? Like you have to know that you're going to do that. So you have to get great audio. You probably have to transcribe all your audio that you do so that you can have proper subtitles. And then you have to do the artistic aesthetic piece to layer them in a cool designy way. ADR, sorry, CJ. ADR is audio, something with the D, I don't know what the D stands for, recording. So that's when you go in after to record maybe dialogue that's messed up, or you just want to add like an extra scene underneath there. So like some kid, is off screen and they're like, hey mom, and you just have somebody come in the studio and do that scene. And so that you would do that in a really clean room, and it's called ADR. So that's any sound that happens not on set. And usually you plan for it. Some of it is like just in your pickups, you kind of expect to do some ADR, but some of it you plan for because it's going to be off screen, and so you don't want to waste set time to record ADR. Awesome. Okay, and aesthetically, let's move to aesthetics. What did you notice about these aesthetics? Somebody tell me about the oh, somebody's talking, please go ahead.
I was talking about like it looks like there's like a dictionary, or like there's like the words translated with English, and also like those the word breaks.
You're not very clear for some reason. Your audio is a little. Are you using Bluetooth at all?
No.
Okay, it's just a little fuzzy for some reason, but try it again. I heard a little bit of that.
Testing.
Yeah, it's just a weird like wah, wah, wah noise. We don't know what it is. I don't know. But
I think you have like a fan on, maybe?
Do you have a fan?
Yeah, it's probably the fan.
Yeah,
something's interfering. Yeah. But that's okay. Go ahead. Keep talking.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say was there was like some pictures of the dictionary or like the word translations with the English that matches into with like the clicking noise, because I saw that online to what they were trying to say.
So the aesthetic was to bring the kind of sound of the language in some kind of rhythmic harmony that created its own soundscape for us. So they took the language to a whole different level. They gave it to us not just in the text, but they also gave it to us in a kind of harmonic musical way, right? When they start, especially as the progression, right? First we get it straight, and then as we get to the end, there's a progression, and we hear the click, 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 click. What else? Somebody tell me about this red screen. Give me a guess. What's that red screen trying to do? Come on, use your knowledge of white supremacy. What were Native Americans referred to? Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a derogatory term of calling them reds, red skin. So that's what I thought of, like it leaves you on this note of like, or you're red, but like, are you really, you know, that sort of thing. And it's mentioned there too, like, you're not native because you can't speak it, and really trying to be what you are and like for your own sake. But then it's also the duality of like looking at it through white supremacy and like blood quantum. Yeah, all of that. And it's all just like solidified with just this giant red block on the screen.
Right. And we get the red sometimes with nothing on it. It's just the red. Right. So there's, I mean, and the red can also really mean the slaughter of the Native Americans. It could just mean blood, you know? And so he's doing all this level of these other levels of like subtly hinting us to things that the film is about, without being on the nose to say the film is about this. So he's allowing our imaginations to kind of actively think about all these things that are very true of our history and of colonialism and of settler violence, without that being the core of the film, right? The film is about language. The film is about identity. But in the background, all these other things exist. So that's why it's really important to have a sense of aesthetics. His mise scene has all this background information. His montage is very much focused on language, sound, text. And he keeps giving it to us. And he reiterates it in the sound. He reiterates it in the text. And then he just throws one thing in, a red square. And it just adds a whole layer. How simple is that? All right, anything else about the aesthetics there? Somebody talk about titles. Somebody be wrong about titles. Just jump in, just try, just attempt to talk about titles. And somebody I haven't heard from.
If nobody's going to speak, I didn't really quite catch the title, but what I got from this is that like this is about languages, and I thought that this was quite interesting in terms of like connecting to different cultures. I mean, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I have to admit, yeah, there's no air conditioning in this wooden duplex, so I kind of zoned out. I'm sorry.
No worries. No, there's no air conditioning in mine either. So if I'm giving you guys all this good glow, it's just sweat. And I'm just giving up. I'm just like, it's just gonna be here. San Francisco ain't got nothing like an air conditioner. So really, titles refers to the actual words you see on screen, right? Not the title of the project. The title of the project is called Wawa, but the titles refer to any word you see on screen. So that means the opening credits, that means the ending credits, that means the subtitles, that means the lower thirds, and the lower thirds really refer to the subtitle space, which is different than intertitles, which is anything that's in the center. So like in old movies, you know, when they had to like translate the silent, whatever, you know, the silent era when we didn't know what they were saying and they put them on a card, those are called intertitles. So here he's giving us subtitles, but he's giving us subtitles in the center of the screen. He gives us some at the lower thirds, but he gives us a lot just in the center of the screen, and he makes them really big. He gives such agency to the language by the size and the design and the way he chooses even his font in the titles. It's very simplistic, but it also is very grandiose because he's taking up the whole frame. It's very simple, but it is very big, right? He's making you read all these pieces, and it's not easy because he's using this other language. So he has to do the work to translate that into this other language. and to put that language up onto screen and to find a font that fits that language, which, trust me, it's not easy to find a font to fit other languages. You have to do that work. And then you have to make sure it reads on screen, which there are very limited fonts that actually read on video. Go ahead, Nathan. Yes.
This is just an obscure question, but
hold on one
do you
second.
know? Sorry.
Yeah, what up? Do you need to leave the stove on really low? Yes. Is it for my chili? Cool. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
Totally good. Would you by chance know what font that is?
There's a number of them, but I can give you a good guideline. It's usually somewhere in the Arial, the Helvetica. It's going to be anything that is not a serif, and a serif font is anything that has a little
Tail.
Like a little thing on the edge. So you have the eyes, and the eye will have like this, and it'll have a little curve at the top and a little curve at the bottom. They'll do an F, and the F will have a little curve at the top. Those are called serifs. And so anything that is not a serif is going to work for you, because what video has a hard time with, and it's a lot better in 4K, a lot better with, you know, the invention of Blu-ray and 6K and all this. But anytime you have a really fine line, it's really hard for video to really interpret that. So a lot of times you'll also see actors not use costumes with stripes, because you get a weird kind of like, ooh, happening, because video can't really translate every single stripe. It can translate very fat lines, but it can't translate little tiny lines. So you'll just get like some kind of warping happening, or it'll look like the actor is stuck in another dimension. And the same thing happens with text. So text loses itself. So you also have a certain like font size, which is usually around 24 at minimum. But some people have gotten away with smaller fonts, but I would say you're probably in a 24-point font for video. And obviously the bigger the better. You know, I would say the bigger the better on everything. When you're doing subtitles, there's kind of a standardization of subtitles. But for your opening title, you know, make sure people can read it. Don't go crazy with your fonts. Like, don't do fancy fonts. Like, that's the kind of key piece. It's not printing. You can't do printing fonts on video. And you can look it up on Google. You can do a search and find like what are the best video fonts to use. But definitely you want to do something like fat and bold and have enough space between that. And I would say in correlation to that, video usually has a very strict color range that it can use. So I always have a key term on my sets, like there's no true black and there's no true white. So I usually try to do costumes where nobody wears all white or true white, right? Off-white, mother of pearl, ecru, those colors are great. White just reflects back to you, and it's really harmful to your soul, especially when you shine a light on it, or especially when the sun's coming down on it. And that also translates to people with very, very fair skin. You have to figure out how to shield them and not make them look like they're glowing or, you know, invisible, you know, on frame. And you'll see that happen a lot when it just gets really sunny and somebody is just reflecting all the light off of their face. And then when you get true black, like this shirt is okay because it has this writing on it, but if the shirt is by itself, it becomes hard to read it on video. And so you have a lot of cameras now, which is why I love Canon, because Canon has kind of a range where it kind of puts blacks in a smoky, more browny, smoky black, and it doesn't do true black. Sony has a very true black, so things can get lost, you know, and people with dark skin can get just very lost in that. So you want to kind of give like a charcoal, a brown black, you know what I'm saying? Or you just want to try and like keep everything in a more like neutral tone and kind of stay out of the black and whites, if that's helpful. And then just know when you have certain, you know, skin tones, you're either, you know, really trying to bring them out with their costume and lighting, or people with very light skin tone, you're really trying to tone down their costume so that they're just not glowing. And I'm sure you guys have seen that. And in the advent of like HD, this has been a really huge problem. a huge problem. I don't know if you've ever watched 30 Rock, but there's like this Muppets episode where they get an HD camera, and then every time somebody goes in front of the HD camera, they look horrible. And so like the little bellhop goes in front of the HD camera and it becomes like a Muppet, because nobody knew how to do makeup or lighting for HD for like many years. So everybody just looked like terrible, and nobody wanted to use HD for the longest, and we were still using DV because you looked horrible. But now HD has gotten so much better, 4K has gotten better. But also, if you're looking for a naturalistic look, I would say try to do this work beforehand in the costume choice and the set design choice and the lighting choice, so that you're not doing such an artificial look in the post-production. Because no matter what they say, like post-production can't make skin colors good, especially for brown people. It's just not going to happen. They're always going to mess it up. So you really want to get it right. And so you're just kind of pushing it a little. Anytime you push anything in post-production a lot, it's going to look like you pushed it a lot. It's going to look like you tried.
Do you have any,
Lena, she noticed it on screen too. Go ahead, Nathan.
Sorry, I was just going to ask if you have any like guides or anything for shooting like people with different skin tones.
There's not. You know, the sad part, there is not in it. There's not, because not enough brown people shoot brown people. So everybody think they know, but don't nobody know. You know, you just got to go out there and learn for yourself and make a guide. Like, it's, you know, when I did my thesis film, it was in black and white, and it was mostly brown and black people. And can I tell you the angst I had to go through with my board who reviewed my film? And like, they set me down even before I went to go shoot, that they were like, oh, you know, just so you know, Black people have a hard time being lit. And I was like, did y'all miss that I was Black? Like, what you telling me for? Like, it's a whole room of white people trying to tell me how to like Black people. And so I kind of just ignore them, and then I go off and I shoot, and everybody looks great, you know, and the film is in black and white, so I have no problem. And then they look at it and they're just like, so we're just confused, like, you didn't shoot with lighting because everything was pretty much shot in daylight. And I was like, no, I just know how to shoot Black people, you know. And it was like tons of different ranges, like, look how light I am, you know. And they're very dark people. You just learn, and you learn because those are the motherfuckers you look at every day. So you know when they don't look good on screen. You know when somebody is fading into the darkness and you didn't light them enough. You know when your girlfriend is a little bit lighter. Me, right? Like, I'm always the person that's like, don't put all the light on me. I'm brown, kinda, you know, like, you need to kind of give me some light, but not a lot of light. And that's me knowing how I look, right? Like, I'm not a white person, but I am a person with very fair skin. So like, light can really just bounce the hell off of me. And also I turn colors when I get into the sun. So, you know, that's just being around more people like you. And I think as long as the dialogue is there, you guys will shoot each other fine. I think it's really just people who aren't around other brown and Black people that have the hardest time. And I would also say, like, there's tons of people like Mother of George is a movie I would recommend. I can't remember what the cinematographer's name is, but he's really known. I just remembered his name and forgot. He's really known for shooting like people of color, and he shot a number of films. Mother of George is probably one of his most like significant films that looks good. Barry Jenkins, director, cinematographer, I think his name is James Laxton, is known for shooting people of color, and he's a white dude. And I think he just has Barry Jenkins there to like kind of guide him around how those things should be shot. But I would just say, you know, I don't know if anybody has had filmmaking training or photography training in their history, but this little thing called a light meter, invest in one. Yeah, there you go. CJ shared some tips. That Isare's crew really shared some tips. And I would say, like, find stuff you like, you know, like, you know, I'm kind of a naturalistic person. I don't like the extra stuff on it. I don't like people to look like they're like they got Vaseline all over them and super glossy. Like, that's not my shit. I just like people to look very natural. So look for people that you like. I think that's really helpful. And that's a great question. And, you know, if you have, your next teacher is a white dude, so I don't know how much he has an answer for that. So if you guys want to come back and ask, I'm totally fine with it. But I'm sure he'll have some kind of tips about like how to kind of block lighting, make lighting a little bit softer and less harsh and blah, 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 blah. All right, any other questions before we move forward? You guys good? So, oh, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about Sky's work. All right, so I really just showed that to you because I thought it was very cool, the multi-layers he had, and it's a really simple piece, right? It's a simple idea. And I love you all, but you guys are making your projects really big, and I want you to really work to simplify them, right? Your original ideas are so good, you don't have to pile too much on them, right? Your goal here is to make an effective story communicated to an audience. Your next project is going to be the one that's going to be your magnum opus, and you're going to do a hell of shit in it. This one, you're just going to keep it really simple, just so you can like use these tools and learn these tools and really communicate them. And I really want, it's a really simple project that he did. Pre-production is not hard on the project that he did, you know? So really take tips from that. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a 5-minute break, and we're probably just going to come back and do, I have a whole motorcycle gang that lives on my street. It drives me crazy. 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do an imagination exercise really quick because I want to make sure I give you guys enough time in your breakout rooms today. I'm promising. So just 5 minutes, come back, imagination exercise, and then you guys have more time later, okay?
Imagine I saw things, I imagine I saw things, I imagine I saw things, I imagine things, I imagine things, I imagine things, I imagine saw things, I imagine. I 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 saw things, I imagine. Things, I imagine. Things, I imagine. Things, I imagine.
Computer, where would you like to go? Take me to the future. To the future, to a better place, to another time and space. Down here, to the future for the human race. Tell me, what does it take to get there? Change, I'm hungry for change, I'm asking for change, I'm willing to change, I'm ready for change, I'm searching for change, I'm looking for change, I'm willing to change. I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I believe that the future's bright. Take a few more steps towards it today. Our generation gotta leave this mark. Be your own life, cause the world's so dark. I know it's hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Into the future, to a better place, to another time and space. Not here. To the future for the human race. Tell me what does it take to get there? I want change I can live in, not just to believe in. You know these politicians, they change with the season. I'm starting with the man in the mirror, my vision getting clearer. Feel like I'm at the dawn of a new era. I see a free world with no more police terror. A foundation I can pass on to each dweller. I look ahead to when their system is dead, when everybody in the hood is sheltered and fed. A black and brown, real life heaven on earth, where the last shall be first and your work is your worth. I never been free, so I can only imagine what it looked like, but I know we need it with a passion, the good life. I ain't got to live in a mansion. To me, being wealthy is being free and healthy. Power in the hands of the people, not the state. I'm so ready. How much longer? I can't wait.
Almost there.
Take me to the future, take me to a better place, to another time and space. Not here. Take me to the future for the human race. Tell me what does it take to get there?
What's your 10, 20, 30 year plan? If we play it right, then we out of here, man. If we take it light in the conversation, no hesitation, that's the time that we're facing. Countdown to a new beginning. We've been losing too long, it's time to start winning. On this land with this love and this life that we live. If we stand with each other and we fight, we can get baby something they can dream about, or maybe sing about. I'm looking forward to our finest hour. Give the baby something they can dream about, and maybe sing about. I'm looking forward to our finest hour.
Take me to the future, take me to a better place, to another time and space. Not here. Take me to the future for the human race. Tell me what does it take to get there? I'm ready for change, I'm hungry for change, I'm asking for change, I'm willing to change, I'm ready for change, I'm searching for change, I'm looking for change, I'm willing to change. Now, I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I believe that the future's bright. I take a few more steps towards it today. Our generation gotta leave its mark. Be our own light, cause the world's so dark. I know it's hard to say goodbye to yesterday, but take me to the future.
All right. Come back. Give me a thumbs up if you guys are here with me. All right. See you, Clarice. I see you, Kaylin. All right. We got enough people. All right. So now we're going to work with actors. Yay. My favorite people. I talked to a few of you in 101s. And so I'm just going to tell everybody here, I highly recommend you take an acting class as an actor, especially if you're interested in being a director. Even if you're doing documentary, it's really, really helpful just to understand how to talk to others, how to get the most information in a storytelling way, because actors are storytellers too. They're not just puppets of your script. They are interpreters of your script. And so they have their own vision and their own way of doing things. So if you are actors, that puts you kind of ahead of the game if you've done some acting or have some acting in your background. So what you guys are gonna do is a little exercise, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna do something else. So I'm not giving you all the exercise all at the same time, but hopefully we're gonna do it, and like, we're gonna hopefully do this whole exercise in 20 minutes because I want you guys to get your lookbooks. All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go pick a household item, something like a pencil or a notebook, and you're gonna interview it. And you have 5 minutes to interview it and come back and tell me a story about it. This is an imagination exercise, please remember. 5 minutes, I'm gonna play music.
Back in school when I wasn't cool. Shit, I still ain't cool, but you better make some room for me. I'm coming through with my crew at the rendezvous. Yeah, it's a party over here now. Yeah, it's a party over here now. If I knew then what I know now, I give myself a souvenir for old time's sake. Cause I got all that I need here, and I'm good, yeah. I thought I needed to run and find somebody to love, but all I needed was some coconut oil. Don't worry about the small things, I know I can do all things. Mama always told me it would be alright. I thought I needed the rush, but it was never enough, cause all I needed was some coconut oil. Don't worry about the small things, I know I can do all things. Mama always told me that, and she was right. It's a party over here now. It's a party over here now. Yeah. It's a party over here now. 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 Yeah. It's a party over here now. It's a party over here now. When I look at you, I see me. So I do unto you as I would do. Someone living in my true story. We got different stories. We under one roof. So when it spring a leak, we both got work to do. If I knew then what I know now, I give myself a souvenir for old time's sake. Cause I got all that I need here, and I'm good, yeah. I thought I needed to run and find somebody to love, but all I needed was some coconut oil. Don't worry about the small things, I know I can do all things. Mama always told me it would be alright. I thought I needed the rush, but it was never enough, cause all I needed was some coconut oil. Don't worry about the small things, I know I can do all things. Mama always told me that, and she was right. It's a party over here now. It's a party over here now. Yeah. It's a party over here now. 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 Yeah. It's a party over here now. It's a party over here now.
A body of water inside beside me reminds me of oceans, though I've never known one. I'm born by a cold one, it's only a small one compared to the coast. I prefer it to most. I like water that don't burn my eyes when they open. I won't let you criticize my city like my skin. It's so pretty. If you don't like it, just leave it alone. You gotta love me like I love the lake. You wanna love me, better love the lake. You gotta love me like I love the lake. You wanna love me, better love the lake. You didn't think I really had it like that. You ain't think we really had it like that. You didn't think I really had it like that. Matter of fact, we can swim in it. I know you wanna get in it. Get on the highway, highway, baby. You look at it my way, baby. See we can fly away.
All right, come back. Who is with me? All right. So I'm just gonna throw a couple of you guys on here so we can get to the interviewing of the human people. Who feels like telling me the story of their object? All right, Kaylin. Okay, so before you go, tell me first, give me 3 questions that you asked your object.
I said, are you having enough water? Are you, do you enjoy the view? And what would you tell your past self from a month ago?
Oh, great questions. All right, what did your object say? Tell us in a story way too. What's the story of your object through those questions?
The story of my object? But I don't say my object.
Yeah, you can. You can say like, my object is a plant and they were born a year ago and last month they had this revelation or something like that. I'm not throwing words in your mouth, but in a story fashion, what did you glean from your questions about your object that you can convey to an audience? And throw that away and just talk, it's fine.
My object is a living thing. It's been going through a lot of changes ever since coming from a store. It's like already practiced to like talk to this object because apparently if you talk to it, it grows more.
Does the object want to be talked to? Remember, you asked it questions. What did it answer? What happened last month?
Last month, my object was much smaller. So its answer to that was, I just put a funny answer like, oh, I grew a lot.
I grew a lot. So your object funny has the voice of a child, you know, because it is a child, right? It hasn't grown that much. So the voice of your object is very much a child. All right, thank you, Kaylin. So the next person who would like to go, and I want you to think in terms of also details. I want storytelling here. So Kaylin asked her object what happened last month. Kaylin asked her object how much it needed to be watered. Those are all open-ended questions, right? And so put yourself in the place of the object. Last month, whoo, that was so hard. I was such a baby. It was so hard to grow and you put me in that shade. You know, my little leaves couldn't touch the light because you kept all the windows shut with curtains. Like, your object wants to talk to you. These open-ended questions help your object talk to you. All right, who wants to go next? details, be specific. I'm trying to also, yes, please, Jada, I'm trying to teach you guys also specificity.
Okay, I'll go. So the 3 questions I asked was, where do you live? How are you feeling today? And what motivates you?
Okay.
So I interviewed this remote.
Uh-huh.
This remote lives on the top floor of the shelf. And it's very lonely because it's not often used. And it also doesn't have a lot of energy because batteries are not often put in it. It's only put in when it's being used. And the remote really likes to be with their brothers and sisters, which is the sound speakers. And it often feels excluded because it doesn't look like them.
Very, very good. Thank you so much. That was great. I learned a lot about that object. I learned a lot about that object. All right, one more person.
Okay, I'm down to, oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Who wants to?
Janelle. Let's hear from Janelle, then we'll come to you.
I just say my 3 questions.
Yes, please. What 3 questions did you ask your object?
So I rushed to my kitchen, and the first thing I asked my oven was why it's always turning off on me. It doesn't work. Ever since I moved in, it doesn't function. And it opened its ugly door, and it told me that I was very poor in a mean, conservative way. It was probably born in the 50s, so that's probably why. And then I asked it how often it showers, how often it gets cleaned, per se.
Yeah.
And then, again, it told me in a very cranky voice that completely depends on my laziness, which is fair. And then I asked it, oh shoot, that's another question. Does it miss me? I was trying to get some kindness out of it. And it told me it doesn't, because I visited it way too much since I learned how to walk.
That was fantastic. Thank you. I love the fact that you figured out what the mood was of your object. That was great to have a mood here, right? I also want to point out that Janelle had a lot of like personal reflection with her object. Like, what is my relationship like to you, right? That can come in handy. It also could not come in handy. There's a point when you don't want to put yourself in there, but there's a point when you might want to put yourself in there. All right, one more, and then we're going to move on to real people. Son, did you want to go?
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so I asked, do you feel important? And it responded, yes, I do feel important. I hold the histories and archives of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like what you do? Oh wait, sorry, that was repetitive. What's your favorite story? It said, the stories I love the most are the ones that are vulnerable and speak about tender love.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't have a 3rd question.
That's awesome. And so I want you to go a little deeper. What do you want us to know about your object?
I guess it's important. It's important, and I guess like its history, like the stories it's able to hold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like the legacy of the object.
Yes, that's the word.
Awesome. So everybody, I want you to know, as we go into this other piece, what do you want your audience to walk away from, right? And this is not really anything you can control that much, but you can control it somewhat in terms of what questions you're asking. What are you revealing? And even for those of you that are doing narrative projects, you want to interview your characters. You want to make sure that they are bringing forth some kind of idea that you're trying to portray through them, right? So if you want us to know about legacy, but you talk about everything but the legacy that they made, or they haven't illustrated their legacy in anything they've said, then we don't have legacy, right? And so in this kind of regard, specificity, even with the question, becomes really important. Having open-ended questions becomes super important, but you can also gain a lot, especially in pre-screening process with close-ended questions, right? Where were you born? Boston, great. Do you like rainy days or sunny days? Sunny days, great. So you can just kind of get a sense of a person in that. But when you are shooting, you don't want a person to answer like that. You want a person to say, what was it like walking in 1968 next to Martin Luther King? That person gonna go on and on and on and never shut up. And then you're gonna go into the editing room and have enough to edit with, all right? So now we're going to go to the second part. And I was gonna put you guys in breakout rooms, but I think we're we're gonna do this together so we have enough time. So we're going to do this the wrong way. I need 2 volunteers, and we're gonna do some shitty ass close-ended interview questions. Who can I get to volunteer? People who didn't volunteer beforehand. 2 people.
I can volunteer.
Nathan. Awesome, and Rita, great. Sorry, I only have a couple of you on my screen because I'm screen sharing. Great, so Nathan and Rhea. I'm gonna make Nathan the director and Rhea the interviewee. And Nathan, your objective is to tell us a story about Rhea. So in this place, figure out what story that you want to tell. You know, you can tell us a story about her yesterday. You can tell us a story about her birth. You can tell us a story about whatever you want. I want you to only ask her yes and no questions, and I'll tell you when to stop.
You ready?
Yeah, whenever you guys. Do you have an idea of what kind of story you want to tell?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Make it specific too. Just make your story specific, your idea specific, meaning don't say, I just want to know about Rhea's life. Really go specific. Like, you know, I want to know about a time when she was in 1st grade, or I want to know about, you know, what it was like to grow up in the Bay Area or on a specific block. You know what I'm saying? Like, go, drill down to a very specific idea. All right, I'm going to step out. Go ahead, go.
Okay. What's up, Rhea?
And these are only yes or no questions, remember.
Yeah. Did you go to the mall when you were a teenager?
Yes.
Did you go to the movies when you were a teenager?
Yes.
Did you ever bring anyone to the movies?
Yes.
Was it a romantic experience?
No.
Did you go to any lookouts that were romantic with anyone that was special?
Yes.
2 questions left, that's it.
Did you have your first kiss at one of these lookouts?
No.
Did you were you did you have sorry, give me 1 second. Was your experience at this romantic lookout a negative experience?
No.
All right, Nathan, tell me the story of Rhea. Go ahead.
Okay. Rhea, on a date did not bring her date to the movies. She brought them to a romantic lookout. And she had kissed someone before. And she had a good time.
Somebody else tell me how much this story is good or bad. Thumbs up or thumbs down on this story. Do you care?
Oh, come on, guys.
Is there enough information for you to care about Ria's history? Anyone?
Turn me down.
All right, so let's switch. Now, Ria, you asked, it lacked dimensions. Thank you so much, CJ. Yes, it lacked dimensions. And you're struggling, right? You're struggling as a storyteller to like make it interesting because you just don't have enough information. But that's the purpose. That's the purpose. You were supposed to fail, so you did exactly what you were supposed to do. Ria,
wonderful.
Reverse this on Nathan. Use the same prompt. So I assume it's something around, you know, your first kiss. Use open-ended questions. You have 3.
3, okay.
Oh, Nathan, are you okay with revealing this, or we can change it to something?
I don't care. It's totally fine.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay.
My first kiss was terrible.
Okay. When you had your first kiss with someone, did you have a plan, or was it? No, that's not an open-ended question. Let me think about this.
Not easy, huh?
Yeah. No,
so Ria, think about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You have setting, location, you have characters. You have so many people involved that Nathan could inform you about. Ask an open-ended question about setting. Ask about characters.
Describe the person you had your first kiss with.
She was, or I mean, she is 4'11". She's a white girl. She had brown hair, and she had a very nice smile. Yeah, she liked to sing.
What about this person did you find the most appealing to you?
We met at a high school football game, or no, before that I was like running, doing dry land practice for like water polo or something like that. And I don't know, I mean, she was cute. She was in theater, and I don't know, I kind of like was interested in acting growing up. So there was like something that we had in common, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Just a young, spry man being interested in girls.
Well, after spending more time with this person, did you realize you had more in common with her, and what was it?
I think after spending more time with her, I realized that we had less in common than I had originally thought. There wasn't really a lot that we were able to touch base on. And I don't know if it's because like we were, you know, you're a teenager, you try to act like the best kind of person, like you try to just like do the most, but sometimes with like someone special, it's all about doing the least. No, not doing the least. You want to do the most with someone special, but you don't want to act like you're always doing the most. Like you want to be comfortable around them.
Yeah.
All right, cut. Cut. Somebody tell me where this movie takes place. What's the setting? Oh, there's definitely a setting. He's told us. Ria, where's the setting?
High school.
And be more specific.
High school, but it could be, you said track, right? When she did water polo, or it could be when you guys did theater.
I thought you said it was like a football field or something.
Yeah, kind of. I wasn't that specific, but I was basically just like running around like the blocks in front of my school. And I ran past her.
All right, so there you go. See how specific that is? He is outside of his school. The school is in the background. Nathan's in the foreground. This other girl is just standing there. Nathan keeps running past her, and he stops and says, hey, what does this girl look like? Somebody. He's told us.
She's 4'11", right? And she has a nice smile. He said too. She was white. She had brown hair. I think that's about a description I remember.
And she was a theater kid. You know, theater kids have kind of a look. I don't know if you guys know theater kids, but they got a look. She was a theater kid. So
they're quirky.
Quirky, thank you so much, quirky. So think about this in terms of even writing in documentary, in narrative. When you write your character descriptions, that's what you want to say. You want to give us a physical description. You want to give us a sense of, you know, who her personality is like, that's not right, what her personality is, right? You also want to give us a sense of like, a kind of sense of her psyche, right? Young, go-getter, theater kid, quirky, 4'11", red hair, white skin, you know. If you don't want to call out somebody's race, you know, that's cool. Just give us a sense, pale skin, brown skin, freckles, non-freckles. We get a sense of who your character is. We get a sense of what she does. We get a sense of what her history is, her history is. And we get a sense of Nathan and her coming together. And what do we ask as soon as they come together? Will it work? Will it not work? They're such opposites. We already see conflict, right? Nathan's sporty, she's theater. How's this gonna work? What do we have here? A story. Do you see how easy in 3 questions she got a story out of Nathan? And did you see Nathan want to give you a story? He kept going and giving you information, although he had already answered the question. He was trying to set the mood, set the setting, set the characters. He wants to give you more. But if you don't prompt him and prime him to give you more, he's only going to give you what you ask him. So if you ask yes or no, he's going to yes or no you all day. And the real kind of key here, especially for camera, is you want folks to talk. You know, you want them to cut off, but it really, especially in documentary, they start off and then they finally get to the meat of it. And so you want to make sure you don't want to cut them off when they're at the meat of it. So you want to be an extra good listener, and you probably want to take notes when you're in a documentary, right? But when you're in narrative, you want to do the same thing to your characters, so you're not throwing up very stale, flat characters. You want to make sure you've asked your character all this, which is why I had you interview your objects. You have had objects spoke to you, and your characters on your page and speak back to you, right? You might not have to like them, right? Like Janelle didn't like her oven, Janelle's oven don't like her, but she definitely got a lot of answers out of her oven. All right, I need 2 more volunteers to try this again with information we know. Now that I gave you guys some tips, I just want 2 more people to volunteer for me, and you're gonna do open-ended questions. And we're just gonna practice. We're gonna get this muscle of director started. 2 more people, please, please, please. Por favor. Lena, if you want to go, sure. I need one more person.
Yes.
I can go.
Yes, please, Clarice. Thank you. Lena and Clarice are going. All right. So Clarice, I want you to interview Lena and use open-ended questions. You get 3 questions and be specific on what you want us to know about her. So you're going to tell us a story about Lena. And as you saw, they picked First Kiss. You don't have to pick that. Pick whatever you want, just be very specific.
Okay. Okay, so Lena, why don't you tell me a little bit about are you currently in school right now?
No, I am not.
Oh,
Wait, is this a yes or no or open-ended?
Don't worry, don't worry, Lena. Clarice, you have 2 questions left.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what a day in your life looks like?
Recently, I have been participating in Bridges Fellowship while in a culinary arts internship. And about once or twice a week, I would have a play rehearsal for my friend's senior thesis immediately after the Tuesday of our class that we have.
One question left.
Okay, and why don't you tell me a little bit more about your internships? Why culinary school? Why BAVC? Why your performance with your friend?
With my internship, I participated because I was invited to it, and I was finishing up another internship somewhere nearby that internship, and I needed something to do, being that I already graduated college. And to keep myself busy, I also decided to join BAVC because I wanted to learn how storytelling works, or story making and filmmaking. And how and why I joined my friend's senior thesis play is because it can be relatable for some people, since it's a play about somebody coming to terms about their diagnosis with autism. And I feel that it's really important to destigmatize mental health.
All right, cut, scene. Very good job, guys. Thank you so much, Clarice and Lena. So can anybody tell me why Lena had a difficult time answering those questions?
I guess because like the question was like broad about like her experience and all that, and then she like didn't really know what like specifically to talk about, so she just like named a couple and then I guess like expanded from there.
Yes, very good. Thank you so much. Yeah, the questions were very broad. And also there were 3 questions in one in the last one. So Lena was holding questions in the back of her head so that she didn't mess up. So you have to realize your interviewer, your interviewee, and also your actors always want to please you. They don't want to mess up. So you don't want to help them mess up, right? You want to give one question at a time. And you want to help them answer the question by making it really specific, right? Lena, can you describe, this is just a question, you don't have to answer it. Can you describe your last experience going to a pageant? Lena, can you describe to me a pageant's crowd? What do the people look like at a pageant? And Lena's that's really specific. So she's gonna go through the crowd in her mind, and she's gonna pull people. Usually it's a lot of middle-aged women and their daughters. It's usually a white crowd. A lot of the pageants I go to are in the middle of America. So we have a lot of people who are kind of in the lower middle class. No one dresses really too fancy. So she's going to go off because she now is painting a picture for herself, right? It's that specific for her. And you're a director still, right? So when you give a question, they just want to answer it. They want to answer the question right. And you have to impart upon your interviewee, there's no right answer, right? Take your time. Use your imagination. Go back to that place. Describe that thing. Describe what you were wearing. Describe what the other person was wearing. Describe what it tasted like, what it felt like. Nancy, can you tell me what it was like to experience the Orange Day that we had in the Bay Area? Whether you were here or not. Yes, please.
Was it at the time when the orange sky occurred? So I remember I woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I thought it was dark. I thought it was nighttime still. I thought it was a time change, and then when it hit 10 o'clock in the morning, that's when I realized that something is wrong with the sky. And good thing I didn't step outside, because I do have a slight lung problem. So I had to be very cautious on going outside. I remember my mom did ask me. It was urgent because she needed help with running for errands. But then I told her I knew it was I'm going to decline it, Mom. I love you, Mom, but my health matters. So for that she understood. So she ended up delaying the errands for a little bit, and she realized that, so she ended up postponing it until next week errands, until Orange Sky is all cleared out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's enough. So what do we learn about Nancy? We learned she got a lung problem. Her mom is around. She has a regular relationship with her mom. She helps her mom out a lot. We learned that Nancy gets up at 9 a.m. Did you say 9 a.m.? I think you said 9 a.m. We learned that, she also was scared. We know what her psyche was, what her psychology was of the day, what her mental state. So it's not just about this information. It's also you want to know the person's soul, how they feel. How did you feel about things? How did you feel about winning a prize? How did you feel about your goals? And it's the same thing for narrative. You want to really attack the soul of the thing. And that is specificity, if I can't say that enough. You have to do your research to know what's the specific question I should be asking, right? I bet everybody wants to ask Martin Luther King if he knew that bullet was coming for him. But is that the question that you should ask Martin Luther King when you get the opportunity? If you get one chance to ask your actors, ask your interviewees one question, what is it? Don't blow it. All right? Okay, so I didn't talk too much. We still have 30 minutes. I want us to go into these groups. I'm going to make new groups, breakout rooms like we did yesterday. It seemed to work really well. And then I'm just going to pop in again, and you're going to work on your lookbook. So use your partners to really ask questions, probe, and even talk about this piece of directing actors, right? Use each other to understand, am I understanding how to direct this actor? Am I understanding how to get the best out of my interviewee? This is the pre-production process where you should be asking these questions. And if you don't have interviewee questions developed, you should start developing them. All right, so I'm gonna make breakout rooms, and let me see. Oh shit, I did it wrong again. Oh, that's okay. Oh, that's okay. Nancy, did you want a different room or did you not want a room? Oh, okay. She's fine.
Put them on my wheel like a bike lock. I got family in Gary and STL. I got cousins in Milwaukee. I got family in Detroit and ATL. Got an auntie that's still out weak. We the #1 gentrified, run inside, give me my land. The new shy tits perky. Facelift that makes your spaces, invest the rest in the #25 niggas jersey. Grass is green, I have Pasadena or Catalina bottled water. With an overlap between bullet holes and backpacks, couldn't be father. And I'm supposed to father my daughter. She the princess in the dragon slayer. I'm a dragon slayer. I can't fly away to some hideaway. I gotta find a way.
I'm everything you make me. Even when you break me down, what always stays me. I can never leave you. I'm only what you make me. Even though you break my heart, the word is gonna save me.
My family tree been on the run. Chased by vampires, raised on a block. My house been tossed into the wind. Can never go back home again. In my mind, in my heart, I believe that everything I am and everything I'll be is the wildest fantasy. Can we live forever? Make water in the desert. I love we can live. My body is a symbol. My body is a symbol. My tribute are the ships and guns. Nightmares teach more than dreaming does. And I know when I walk away, my soul it goes there every day. In my mind, in my heart, I believe that everything I am and everything I'll be is the wildest fantasy. Can we live forever? Make water in the desert. Love we can know. My body is a symbol. My body is a symbol. In my mind, in my heart, I believe that everything I am and everything I will be. In my mind, in my heart, I believe that. In my mind, in my heart, I believe that everything I am and everything I will be. In my mind, in my heart. Can we live forever?
That's so weird. Why are we the only ones back?
It's just slow. It takes like a full 1 minute and it doesn't go any faster. It's like 19, 18.
Oh, it's like a countdown.
It's so by 9, I assume everyone's going to be back here, I guess. It doesn't look like anyone's left. So.
I'm hungry, so I'm eating.
There we go. Oh, go ahead, eat, please.
What you gotta do?
All right. It looks like we're almost all back in here. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you guys. So I hope that was helpful. I know it wasn't long enough, and I know you guys like having that. So we'll try and do it again on our last day, which is Tuesday. I loved having you guys as a class. You guys are all like just really knocking my expectations out of the box. And in my last meeting with BAVC, I just was like, I don't know, they're like a rock star class. Like I'm giving them a master level, and I don't have to like bite my tongue at all, which, you know, they were very shocked, right? Because they kind of wanted me to water things down here. But you guys didn't get a water down. This is like a master levels course that you guys are getting. So on Tuesday, we're gonna have very little time together. So what I want to do is kind of we show up, we go work on any little fine tuning of our lookbooks that we want. I don't really give a shit if you only got half the little categories done. If you got 4 categories done, then that is what you're presenting, all right? And then we're gonna present it because I want everybody to hear what everyone else is working on if you haven't got a chance to hear about somebody's project. And the lookbook will be a great way to present it. So please try and have something done by Tuesday. And if you want to try and meet with me on Monday, my Monday's a little free. So if you want to just try and get it in at last minute, I can't do Friday, I'm already booked. But Monday still has a little bit of time from like 2:30 on. So please do that if you want. And then if you don't want to meet with me for your lookbook, you don't have to, and you can still meet with me any other time during the production or post-production. So that's totally cool too. I just wanted to say, if you wanted to talk to me specifically about the lookbook or going into your final project. That's all I got. This is what today's class is. I hope it was cool. I hope we learned something about the directing actors. And I wanted to say one last thing about directing actors. You're kind of like, how do you know if you're doing it right and if you're doing it wrong? If you're not learning anything about the other person, you're doing it wrong. If you're bored, your audience is going to be bored, right? And that's why we become super annoying people as directors, because guess what we are? We're great listeners. And all of a sudden people are like, Maria, how come I'm opening up? I'm telling you all this secret private stuff about myself. And I'm sitting there like, oh, that happened? Oh, okay. Because I'm like, ooh, just give me all the juicy stuff. Like, that's what I love. I want to be a good listener. I want to be interested in what I'm hearing. And I want to do storytelling, right? So practice on other people. Practice just going out in the world and like interviewing your friends without them really knowing. Practice asking them specific, open-ended questions that get to the meat and the heart. None of this playing around, you know, the thing. We're going to play with the thing. We want to know what the meat and the core is. And that's really what I'm trying to get at with my lesson on directing today. So I hope that was helpful. Learn about the world, learn about humans. All right, 7 o'clock. I will see you lovely people next Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Please take care of yourselves, drink water, all this great stuff. Bye. And
bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Or not. Let's see, Caitlin, did she still want to meet?